Hello, I'm Jake.
Hi, Alex. Back.
Welcome back. And we are now in the month of October. And we're shooting this in August, so that's why it's one of the only times you'll ever see me wearing shorts, just because it's so fucking hot. But regardless.
Today it's more humid probably than anything else, but
yeah.
still.
Yes.
Pretty steamy.
Today we're going to be reacting to another Nostalgia Critic October review. A few years ago we reacted to his review of The Langoliers, the Stephen King miniseries about giant killer meatballs eating up time. Today we react to Doug's review of Stephen King's miniseries remake of The Shining. Did you ever know that there was a remake of The Shining?
I had heard that there was a remake of The Shining, but I have not watched it myself. Stephen King is one of my favorite authors, and I've seen many of his film adaptations. I know that there's some of them that have gone really well. There's some that have been kind of dumpster fires. Yeah. There's some that Stephen King has loved and endorsed, and there's others that he's kind of disavowed entirely. And I think this is one of them, right?
He hated the Stanley Kubrick version, but the miniseries, King himself wrote the script for it. It was directed by Mick Garris, who also directed the Stand miniseries, which got a lot of acclaim. And Mick Garris also did the not based on a book Stephen King written movie Sleepwalkers, about an incestuous mother-son werewolf vampire team.
It's really interesting thinking about the body of work there of things that have been adapted from Stephen King works. There's so much material to work with there. There's just been some really good adaptations, classic movies, and also TV movies and characters, and at the same time there's been some absolutely terrible adaptations. So it's just interesting that this one man's body of work has had such a disparity between great and terrible over the years.
As Doug put it, when he's great, he's great. When he's bad, he's even greater. Anyway, this is from 2013, has a special Nostalgia-ween, as it's called, opening. And this is after Doug took a hiatus from the Nostalgia Critic, and he brought on supporting actors to do sketches with. Most people noted them today as Malcolm Ray and Tamara Chambers. But this is the first year he had actors, and for the first year, it wasn't Tamara, it was this other actress named Rachel Teets, and as she would put it, as in titties. Oh. That's what she said. And without further ado, let's watch and see how they deconstruct the Shining miniseries. Ready?
Yes, let's get into it. Opener.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
I tell you, nothing like moving to a new place, doing some heavy lifting, stretching the muscles. Isn't it great, guys? I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I mean, why keep filming all my stuff at home when I have a perfectly good location just waiting to be used? Were we always filming at your house?
Yeah, to be honest, it was actually really inconsistent where we were.
What's important is that we have this fantastic location built on top of a harmless Indian burial ground that rests below the hulking remains of a burnt-down insane asylum for schizophrenic homicidal orphans. And vampire puppies. So, why don't you guys get busy putting together those very heavy props while I figure out where to put this delightful Halloween ornament? Oh, and if you guys could place them in the order of my favorite props to my least favorite props, that'd be great.
Every group project ever.
High school teacher, he would know.
What? You don't get to take notes with me as I watch the highlight of any Nostalgia-ween, the Stephen King miniseries.
Get hit by a vein.
Nothing like celebrating the holidays by attacking a man who's done absolutely nothing to me and is making his living by entertaining others. Oh, we'll show him, won't we, Pennywise? Oh, yeah. We all know he's had some classic stories, but he's also had some classic blunders. And no nowhere
I like
are they more
Dreamcatcher.
spotlighted than in the overly long and overly goofy miniseries. Only this time, the idea is not to get one of his
There's
ideas to
Langoliers.
the screen, it's rectifying a version that he's hated for years. That, of course, being The Shining. Most are aware of the Stanley Kubrick adaptation, or as the Brits like to say, Kubrick. And for the most part, audiences seem to enjoy it. That is, of course, except for King. Yup, the guy who loved 2012 and Death Race couldn't stand the theatrical release of The Shining. So, what to do? Release his own version on TV in 1997 with a teleplay entirely written by him. It's sure to have some kingly awkwardness, and I'm here to take notes on it for my next review. So, what are we waiting for? Let's dive into the Wish You Overlooked Hotel with The Shining. So our story takes place not in Maine. What the hell is going on here? As we open with Jack, played now by Steven Weber, being instructed how to handle the boiler room when he becomes the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel. Oh, and I don't mean briefed. I mean instructed with every single detail.
This is your pressure gauge. It's got a safety valve, and this is your drop valve. So here's what you gotta do. This son of a bucket's been rusted shut. No safety valves. You rated for 160 every night. Last thing.
You know, oddly enough, King, the inner workings of a water boiler described by Commissioner Gordon in the hopes that your obvious setup for the climax will seem less silly. Isn't this right?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But at least he has some history to welcomingly scare the shit out of the new housekeeper.
We had this lady here last summer, Slytherin. And there was this last caretaker, Grady.
What about it?
Shotgun. Both barrels wrong.
Jeez, I hope you don't say this on all the hotel tours.
And over there is the kitchen where old Mary McCreed cooked her husband. Right down, he was delicious.
Jack then talks to the owner of the hotel, played by the shaking head of Elliot Gould.
The board has decided to put an alcoholic less than a year away
Ray
from his
Donovan,
last
yeah.
drink in charge of one of the greatest resort hotels in America. May I be frank? Oh, why stop now? It makes me sick.
Here are the keys. Enjoy your stay.
I'll not only be taking care of the Overlook, but I'll be taking care of myself and my family.
While Jack assures our mystery theater actor that he's no longer on the sauce, we see his boy and wife waiting eagerly at home, played by Kirtland Mead and Rebecca De Mornay.
Yep.
Dad, get the job? Uh-huh. He and the man he talked to, they don't like each other. But he got it. Are you sure? Uh-huh.
That's right. In this version, the parents are totally aware that the kid is psychic, and the reaction is... I guess when you get down to it, that is kind of a legit reaction. I mean, what's he have to look forward to? An apartment with a neon sign on top of the walkway?
This kid is horrible.
This makes Jack's wife, Wendy, think back, quite randomly the more I think about it, to that terrible night when her husband had been drinking too much. Or at least, badly imitating a guy who's been drinking too much.
Look at this man! Go off and use the phone, and this is what I come back to? Answer me, you damn pup! And I'll fix you!
Slurred cliches and monotone anger. The only thing to make this more obvious is an empty bottle of... There we go.
Well,
What did you do to Daddy?
Pop.
I'm never going to another emergency ward, Jack. You can stop on your own.
What's wrong?
If anything ever happens again, I am packing my bags and I'm leaving.
You're right. It's gotta end. One way or the other.
As you can see, I'm really torn up about it. But his son Danny is having his own
Yeah,
issues outside. As
never
his
closes
imaginary
his
friend
mouth.
Tony tries to communicate with him.
Danny!
Hi, Doc. Really? So, Tony all his time was an awkwardly hovering version of the Encyclopedia Britannica kid? I don't think anyone could have predicted that from the Kubrick version. I always thought it was a demonic rendition of the Frosted Flakes mascot.
What do you want?
But Tony shows him some scary images of what's to come. Like a killer hose. Wait, what?
not in the book.
You know, King, you have a talent for taking things that are very obviously not scary and keeping them very obviously not scary. I mean, what are you gonna do? Try to make croquet scary too? Oh, for God's sake, just because you put blood or teeth on something doesn't mean we're automatically gonna be frightened by it. I mean, can you think of an instance where you just took something random, you put blood or teeth on, and that instantly worked? Ah, that was
It's
different!
about a vagina with
It turns
teeth.
out the horrifying croquet mallet was just another one of Danny's visions. Though Jack does seem to be struggling as he finds himself calling his AA sponsor, who loves reminding him of stuff that he apparently already knows.
Well, you know what they say at the AA meetings, don't you? You know what they say at the meetings, Jack.
Well, if he knows, why are you telling him? But it's still tempting for him as he finds himself drawn to local pubs like the Tavern.
Bar.
Here's to hoping randomly toasting people outside my window doesn't lead to ironic consequences. I'm benign. So they make their way to the hotel as they play their favorite driving
Is this like
game.
an hour
What
into the movie
hell did my
already?
son just say?
Hard to say. 3 parts, and each part's 90 minutes apparently.
Seems like there's been a lot of
Of course, it doesn't help
exposition.
that his teeth look like someone photoshopped Napoleon Dynamite's mouth onto it. Well, he does. Funny-looking children have just as much a right to be made fun of as any other person. Hey, where'd you get that?
Young
They
Doug.
approach the hotel, and everything for the most part seems pretty welcoming.
Edward Scissorhands theme.
Here they come across Dick Halloran.
Melvin Van Peebles.
Breathe. Well, Doc. Gonna give me a hand, or you just gonna stand there?
So Dick, of course, explains that Danny and him share the same psychic power that he refers to as the Shining, and that if he ever needs help, just to use his power to contact him.
And maybe a half a dozen times, I've seen things.
What were they, Dick?
Now, I, of course, am too sophisticated to make any jokes about a tiny little boy talking to a big black dick, but for the record, I'd like to show you how many opportunities I had to make a joke.
Give me a blast.
You're gonna come down to St. Pete with me.
Nobody's gonna tell your daddy anything.
Just look the other way and count to 10.
I bet you just about glow in the damn dark. Just promise me you won't go in. This is between you and me.
What do you want me to think?
Anything as long as it's hard.
I should get a medal for how many I'm avoiding. Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
be scared. A door closed. But that's not the important part. The real juicy stuff is we have a hotel to tour.
So there's a pantry back there. There's a
Oh, more of a tour.
here.
And tour.
Yep.
Dining room seats 200. You can seat almost twice that many.
And
We
tour.
get it.
The elevator's the easiest way to the service area.
And
That
tour.
would be in one of the smaller freezers. You get that through the pantry.
And tour.
Master bedroom, madame.
And oh my god, are you gonna show us every goddamn fucking room? How about some scary stuff? I mean, aside from, by the way, the door closed. I mean, we're over an hour in, and the scariest thing we've
Yeah.
come across is a hose and the Encyclopedia Britannica guy. Tell me you're
Langoliers
trying harder than
level
this.
special effects there.
Oh, thank God.
So you want to see more of this place?
No! Jesus Christ, the boom mic in the reflection is more exciting to watch than this. I'm at least trying to make excuses about how it's a ghost mic or something. Hey, it's about as scary as a hose or the Encyclopedia Britannica, kid. Can't you give us something?
Oh, I'm scared now.
But finally, the guy gets going and they start looking after the place.
Oh.
And he's already off to a bang-off start, as he accidentally comes across a wasp nest and gets stung.
Can I keep it in my room, Mom?
No.
Do you think that's...
It's fine. It's fine. They're all dead,
What
Jack.
kid wants a
Come on,
wasp
I thought the
nest?
wasps we needed were the three right in front of us. Oh well, they're looking over a big, creepy, scary
I
hotel.
didn't know that's how
you
you
know those will
got
lead to
a
a lot of other
wasp's
scary
nest.
possibilities.
By tearing out
Like
the roof.
bringing groceries into the hotel.
I didn't know
putting them
wasps
away,
could do that
reading a
under
children's
the-
book, putting
the-
that
the
away,
shingles.
discussing the children's book immediately after they read it. Really?
You are doing so fantastic.
Well, finally, we do get some form of suspense when Danny locks himself in the bathroom. Oh
Yeah.
no, another Miracle Whip binge. Wake up now!
Tony was here. He was.
There is no Tony. There's no imaginary pal who comes and shows you the future. Now will you stop with that crap? So, what are they
Well-
gonna do after this bit of excitement?
Said they
Talk
know
about it,
he's
of course.
psychic.
Just got scared.
Shouldn't they be open to the idea of an imaginary friend?
You know what? I don't know what I do. Oh Jesus! Do something! I mean, how far along are we again? Do something! Okay, great. So they finally decide that Danny should go to a doctor. Fair enough. But what kind of doctor should he go to?
This one, Sidewinder, that's supposed to be good. He's not a pediatrician, he's a GP, but
Oh my God, are you serious? A wild tax is more exciting than this!
you know, it scares me.
The idea that nothing scary will ever happen.
Your anger.
Oh, yeah, Lord knows, that's much much more scary than the insane ghost downstairs constantly messing with your hotel. Yeah, literally, all sorts of weird stuff is going on downstairs, and where are our caretakers? Finding out how many different ways they can say sorry.
Sorry. How many ways can I say it?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure you'll film everyone that comes to mind, though. I mean, seriously, are the ghosts just patiently waiting for them to notice what they're doing?
I don't want this to be an angry place, Jack.
Guys, you know we're doing all our creepy stuff down here. Turn the lights on and off, the jukebox, moving things. Pretty scary. Okay, well, whenever you guys get a minute, feel free to come on down and take a look at it and, maybe be terrified. If not, just have a good night, enjoy your conversation, and, yeah, good luck with your little problem there. Again, scary, very scary.
Terrifying.
To at last get a little bit more action as the wasp nest suddenly comes alive again.
Yeah.
Ah!
Said it was safe, Jack! Said it was safe!
God, it's like those replenishing bees from the Mega Man games. They just never die.
Bees, my god.
Yes, that is so wasp for Dad!
I know I did, honey. That's you, Bobby. I'll be right back.
But whoa, that was way too much excitement for
Jake
part
Lloyd
one. So
is a
let's
better
level out
actor
the
than this
incredibly
kid.
exciting actions of going to the kitchen, getting a container, trapping them in it, taking them outside, going into the living room, retrieving your camera, taking pictures of the wounds, and talking about how you can use this to possibly get some insurance money from it.
I think $5,000 a sting should do it. Don't you think?
Who cares? We're an hour and a half in. The other movie had an elevator and blood, two scary girls, and whatever the fuck that was. And aside from the ghost once again closing the doors every once in a while, nothing creepy is happening at all. What's next? They're gonna terrifyingly tinker with the thermostat? So as we begin part 2, which I'm sure a lot of people
Jesus.
saw, seeing how part 1 was so riveting, we finally see Danny goes to the doctor.
How did Danny break his arm?
His father did. Jack didn't mean to hurt him, but he was drunk.
Didn't we go over this? The flashback. Remember drunken Christian Bale hurting his son? We saw this. Why does this need to be repeated?
So your family's mending.
I think it is, Doctor. We're trying to
Mmm.
move on.
This moment of pointlessly long writing brought to you by Stephen King, helping young kids reach the top shelf for 40 years. God, even when a setup for a scary moment happens, look what they do with it.
Shut up! Do you hear me? Just shut up! Danny! Noe!
Take a look.
Noe!
Hey, thank God! Satan and his demon army
Alright.
can be dealt with later. And it's snowing!
I could use some snow these days.
God, I can't take this shit!
And this is the one Stephen King endorsed.
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, critic. We felt really bad about abandoning you while you were moving everything.
Yeah, you did.
We were wondering if you wanted us to come back and help you out.
Rachel, let me explain something to you. Whenever you call and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me, and it'll take time to get back to where I was. You understand?
What got into you? Aunt Flo in town?
We're gonna make a new rule. Whenever you hear me typing like this,
How can I hear you typing if you're miles away?
or whether you don't hear me typing, whatever the fuck you hear me doing, when I am in here, I am working, and that means you don't call. Now, you think you can handle that?
I'd like to say you used to be so nice, but that wouldn't be correct.
Why don't you start by getting the fuck out of here?
Because I'm not in the same room with you.
Say that!
Good, no movie day. Let's go celebrate with some pumpkin tacos.
Shining.
What?
The Shining, the movie. Where Jack Nicholson goes crazy?
You'll have to be a little more specific.
The Kubrick movie. I think he's gone crazy and is reenacting the Kubrick movie. We have to do something before he goes too far.
Oh, hell no, I'm not doing that.
Why?
Do you know what happens to the black guy in that movie?
No.
What happens to all black guys in scary movies?
No.
Well, let's just say it doesn't end well.
Well, let's just say if something happens to the critic, then we're out of a job.
I wanted to try the pumpkin burger from McDonald's.
Drive!
No one likes a
They
whiner.
were not pumpkin McNuggets. I'm blaming you.
Have they ever had pumpkin McNuggets?
Not that I'm aware of.
Doesn't sound appealing. Like it so far?
Yep.
Cool.
So I know you're all blown away with that snow scene, but sad to say, some actual suspense seems to enter the picture. When Danny is tempted to go into room 217, which he has been forbidden to go in.
Doc, what are you doing here, Doc?
They're like pictures in a book.
Doc, if you give them the chance to become more than that,
I
they
can
can...
go in here if I want to. Go away. Leave me alone.
Not scary.
Okay, I hope you die.
Good. To find out how you can own the new Encyclopedia Britannica,
Honey, hurry up!
Oh, now you want him.
talking to the people at home.
Just a hose, stupid.
Just call this number and we'll send you this free booklet. Annie,
Well, that was terrifying, I guess.
Nothing, Daddy.
nothing, Daddy. What are you doing in Mr. Ullman's office?
Oddly enough, most of the transition of Jack turning crazy is done surprisingly pretty flowingly. That is except for this one moment where I think a page was out of place or something because suddenly he's in full nut mode with no lead in at all.
What have you got behind your back?
Nothing, Daddy.
Nothing, honey. Not supposed to go into any of the guest rooms. What should we do about a little boy who cannot keep to the rules?
Daddy, I didn't go in the...
Men follow the rules. They also say their ass very difficultly. Oh, and just when you thought this movie couldn't get
Overacting.
any more drawn out, any more boring, any more tediously long-winded, we get a 12-minute conversation about their marriage without any scares, any
Haven't we
action,
already done
or
this?
any suspense whatsoever.
What has happened?
It should be background noise in this movie.
Bear with me.
I hate this place now.
Just interested in the papers I found down the cellar.
Is stress the reason you don't want to make love to me anymore?
Entertain! Entertain!
We didn't have much back in Boulder, but pretty happy.
I know how much I bitch things up for myself.
I'm not talking
Bitched
about
up.
the guest room.
You won't be sorry. I do. My temper, George Hatfield.
Your husband lost his last chance because his son sees things sometimes?
That is so unfair, and you know it.
Situation is unfair.
D-Rock.
We didn't have much back.
D-Rock.
So after that terrifying bit of horror, we finally get to where the real scary shit lies in all this. The real terrifying heart that it's all been building up to. The plants don't have snow on them anymore.
Avatar.
Oh, and you know what's even scarier? Having them be totally still while playing animal sound effects over them. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna piss myself.
Not scary.
Ooh, I'm gonna write a Doctor Who episode about this. And because breaking in the first time went so well, Danny decides maybe doing it again will turn out even better consequences. And, wouldn't you know it, something actually a touch scary does occur here. Josh
Yeah.
Holloway, so that's where you went after Lost.
Hello, Danny.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Motherfucker!
You know, the fact that he just stood there instead of kept running,
Yeah.
he kind of was asking for it.
Unusual cryptic self. Danny? Hey, Danny, way to get to first base.
So much as I figure on him again, I will wait till you're asleep and I will kill you.
Of course she figures out it wasn't Jack and asks him to go figure out who did it. After 5 minutes of talking about it, of course.
Get out of here.
What are you talking about?
This place was bad. Everything bad that happened here is still here.
Stop talking about it and just show us what's fucking scary!
But if we don't go soon, we might not be able to go at all.
He's sucking the air out of
I do
every
hope
scene
they're
he's in.
still talking when they come back from it.
With a mouth that wide, of course he has to suck
And
everything
they
in.
are. What the hell? Are you fucking serious? The conversation was so long that it literally needed a commercial break? Look, in books, I know stories are carried through a lot of dialogue and obviously a lot of words. That's the medium. But film is a visual medium. Show, don't tell. I mean, by God, imagine if George Méliès, instead of showing his voyage to the moon, just talked about it the whole time.
So they got in this very flat, strange-looking device that kind of looked like a penis and launched it into the moon. Oh, the moon, by the way, has a face on it, and it actually hits the face in the eye. Oh, this would be rather unbelievable if we were to see this visually.
Well, film
but-
history.
Nah.
He's slipping.
So Jack decides to go up there and carve himself a witch. Say, this looks like the most intimidating weapon around here. Oh, yeah, because you've already closed the door 186 times. Maybe the 187th will catch us off guard. Alright, let's get some exciting, scary, and/or run away like a pussy. Well,
Alright.
that's enough frightening stuff for this scene. Let's go back to more talking.
Did you break this?
It wasn't broken when you were in there?
Why would you hint at the scary thing we already saw? You showed it! You showed it in close-up, you showed it far away, you showed it in every angle imaginable. Okay, not every angle, you know, haha, TV, but at the same time, we
TV-14.
know what it looks like. We know what's scary about it, so why would keeping it in the shadows scare us? Well, we know exactly what's in there. Why? I need a drink. God, I need a drink. Love my goddamn soul for just a shot of cupcake vodka. Why, hello there. Kinda dead tonight, isn't it? Yes, it is, Mr. Critic. What'll it be? Well, I'm so glad you asked
It's
me.
a character he played many years
I
ago.
have a lot of lost time to make up for. That's all on account of this.
That's actually a pretty
And I tell
impressive
ya,
shot.
It keeps getting worse. Do tell, Mr. Critic. Do tell. For example,
Also, shout out to the original
Jack
movie.
pretends he doesn't see anything as tensions start to rise.
Nice tribute to the true classic.
It's your son. Can't you see the bruises on his neck? Are you blind? Stop it.
God, they're all terrible.
So Jack goes and smashes the radio as well as the snow scooter and pretends like he doesn't know what's going on, resulting in a 6-minute conversation about how they're stuck.
We could learn as we go, Jack.
Maybe. We could listen to the weather, and we could pick a time when they're calling for 3-4 days without snow.
Yeah.
And if the forecast is wrong,
Fuck the conversation. You can say this in 4 words. We're stuck. Oh, nut bunnies. Why is this so hard? But things get suspenseful, I guess, when the hedge sculptures start to come to life.
This will really be reminiscent of the Langoliers.
Wow. Not since the happening have I been so not afraid of plant life. I'm so glad the CG artists from the Langoliers still got work. Things get even more hectic when one of the rooms locks Wendy inside. Why? I mean, what's the point when you really think about it? Even if they do catch up to it, what are they going to do? Give him poison ivy?
Whoop.
Oh, hey, that wasn't us. You're just a clumsy clod.
And once again, what is this all building up to? Abso-fucking-lutely nothing.
Nothing to see here. Move
jumping
on.
in shadows, babes.
You know, some people like the first film version of The Shining, some don't. And I can understand either. But at the very least, you have to acknowledge it created a surreal, scary environment.
Absolutely.
And as soon
One
as
of the
this
best.
version started, it was clear. It was much more interested in talking about that scary world than it was actually showing it. And that was 3 goddamn hours ago! Boy, that sounds like a pain. You know, it's funny, Dominic.
I didn't think this location had any alcohol, let alone a bar.
It doesn't. You've just been hallucinating. In fact, you've been drinking toilet water for the past 5 minutes.
No, the bowl itself is clean, right?
Critic? Critic?
Do you see him anywhere?
Still gonna die.
Would you take that off?
No, I'm not getting killed by a D-list internet celebrity.
Look,
Hey,
it's his
hey,
laptop.
B+.
Maybe we can see what he's been working on.
All talk and no scares makes miniseries dull shit. Man, Rachel's really going for it.
How do you like it?
Again, shout out to the original.
No, I still have so much more pumpkin shit to try.
I just wanted to ask about what we should do about The Shining.
Okay, what should be done about The Shining?
I don't know.
I don't think that's true. I think you have some very definite ideas about what should be done about The Shining, and I would like to know what they are.
I just think that you can find something good in it and you'll feel better. You're supposed to be good and feel better.
There is nothing good about it.
There has to be something that King did better than Kubrick.
Nope.
Have you ever seen a miniseries without a single solitary moment of entertainment in it?
Stay back. You're letting your love of the old one get in the way. We're not even satirizing the new one anymore. We're satirizing the old one.
That's because the new one sucks, and there is nothing to satirize.
Nothing good.
Give me the bat, Rachel.
Stay away.
Give me the bat.
Stay back.
Rachel. Give me the bat.
Okay.
You just made your biggest mistake. Hey. Open the door.
Now you stay in there until you find something positive to say, mister.
There is nothing positive in the miniseries. The original is so much better.
Well, find
Good
something.
recreation of the low angle.
You good?
Yeah, no thanks to you.
Oh, no mention. Hey, guys.
I forgot to mention, you're not going anywhere.
Go check out the car to see what I'm talking about. Go check it out. Go check it out. Car's fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it looks like all he emptied was the windshield wiper fluid. Good luck driving without dirt debris all over your windows. You know what this calls for? Pumpkin sauerkraut.
Oh, see, while I'm here, we get another scene that seems to go nowhere. They see the elevator has been moving on its own, and Wendy climbs in and finds party masks and confetti. Ooh, is the elevator gonna drop or start moving so they have to pull her out in a suspenseful scene? Nope. It just stands there.
My God, a scary scene was practically gift wrap for you by the horror god, and you didn't take advantage of it?
That's like the Three Stooges looking at a pie lineup and saying,
What are we supposed to do with these? Scare me, you fucking master of horror and suspense! Scare me! So Danny sees the ghosts are apparently dyslexic,
Red Rum.
and this finally convinces him to contact Dick. Oh yeah, a dead woman gnawing at your neck is okay, but bad grammar on the wall? Now that shit needs reinforcements. And just to pour more salt in the wound, he actually passes by an entertaining horror director, Sam Raimi. in a
Evil
reference
Dead.
cameo.
I love you, Howie. You're one cheery MFA. MFA? Mighty Fine America.
No, please, follow him! Throw in a flying eye, a disembodied hand, a talking head! The scares in this movie are so fucking weak! I wouldn't be shocked if the next thing to scare us was a guy in a bad Halloween mask! No one gets past Rover. 3 hours of build-up, guys, and this is what it's been amounting to. Was it worth it?
but we
do start getting some payoff with the ghost at least, as they make themselves more and more visible to Jack.
Oh my god, I have antlers! Oh, phew. That would have been as silly as a guy in a Wolfman mask.
But more ghosts start to become visible, including Mr. Grady, as they all start to liquor up Jack to make him more susceptible to their suggestions. Family killing suggestions, to be exact.
You might want to take that up with your son. He's crossed you at almost every turn. He must be corrected, sir. He and your wife both.
We also see the scariest part of any Stephen King miniseries, Stephen King. Give him some credit, though. At least it looks like he's having fun in all this. But we have no time for conducting beerless Judge Ito's. We've got some crazy Jack drinking Jack to exploit. As he tries attacking Wendy, but she fights him off by lightly tapping him with the breakable prop. Well, you know what this calls for, right? More goddamn talking!
You might want to move him.
Get out.
Wendy and Danny drag him into the kitchen to lock him up.
You know, son, we never do projects anymore. This is nice.
But not only do the ghosts let him out, but they also start attacking the rest of the family. With... Huh. Well, it's good to know Stephen King has moved on from balloons to the terrifying realms of confetti. Hey, watch out! Those look like real streamers.
Stop it! Here! God!
Hello? Turn around. P.P. guy here. Hey!
That's what I'm...
Okay, it's still not scary. What is your deal?
Now, by God, you are going to take your medicine.
Or I'm the king of the 9-widget diamond formation. Come on, it was silly enough carrying this thing. You don't need to make it funnier. But Wendy's done playing Whack-A-Demorne as she slams him in the face with a ball. And yet, somehow, quite miraculously, both these two seem to keep moving. Don't you think they'd be down for the count by this point?
Mr. Torrance, Halloran's coming. You'd better take care of this, Mr. Torrance.
Stay close, darling. I'll be back.
See, I quoted Arnold movie instead of Cars to shake things up a bit. By the way, I hate lamps and TVs! Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay.
Look at this croquet mallet.
Jack?
Watch out! Here's your prize!
No, I don't think so.
You see what I'm talking about? It's not exactly inflicting spine-tingling terror when you do this with a croquet mallet instead of an axe. I get more Jim Carrey smashing that guy in the mask than I do something scary. Let's have a cartoon sound effect to make it complete. Still a classic. Yeah, things are about as laughably silly with Danny. Just look at how Tony tries to show him the boiler room is about to blow.
It's the boiler. My daddy forgot to dump the boiler.
But Danny does find out and manages to tell his father, who seems to be struggling back and forth between loving his son and turning into an evil head knockoff.
The worst like you.
My daddy hasn't dumped the boiler pressure today.
Boilerplane competent maintenance!
Danny and Wendy manage to wake up Dick and they make their way out, resulting in Jack sacrificing himself by blowing up the house. Because, yeah, as we all know, explosions can apparently kill ghosts.
Total photonic reversal.
Goodbye, Daddy.
And what's the only way we can wrap up 237 minutes of boredom? A goddamn graduation ceremony!
Because we weren't bored enough! God!
Dear Rob.
Dear Rob. Dear Rob. Dear Rob. Dear Rob.
It's bored backwards.
Dear Rob.
crazy yourself.
No! There's gotta be something I can get this over with.
No.
Well, if it's scary enough for Stephen King, it's scary enough for me.
Man.
Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in.
He's going all the way with the impression.
But she's doing pretty well too.
Rachel's a pretty good actress.
You know, this really isn't working. Why don't you just open up the door?
Not until you find something positive about the miniseries. It'll clear your head.
There is nothing positive about it, and somebody has to pay for it. Somebody has to pay.
Hello.
Nope.
Pumpkin guacamole?
Critic?
Hey, Doc. Good job, Doc. I love you.
That's it.
Malcolm! You know you have to die! It's the law of every scary movie! What about that guy from Event Horizon? He lived! Jurassic Park, Deep Blue Sea, Gremlin, the list goes on! Well, how about that chick from Alien vs. Predator? Was she black? I don't really remember! I'm pretty sure she was! That chick was awesome! Why do so many people hate that movie? I think it's seriously underappreciated as movie crossovers go! I mean, there's no Avengers, but it was still pretty damn decent!
Actually, isn't that terrible?
Okay, I never thought I'd have to use this.
Use in case of crazy white person.
I'm coming! What have we here? Excuse me, sir. I was wondering if you saw a black person.
Oh
come down
boy.
here.
Why, no, good sir. I was just walking through, reading my James Patterson novel and listening to Wrecking Ball.
It's a good song.
Of course it is.
Hey, Nostalgia Critic. Random white person. I found out something the miniseries did better than the movie.
What? What can that possibly be?
Jack's character.
Huh?
For Schnizzle?
Jack in the first Shining was just playing, well, Jack. It's just another Nicholson role that could be switched out with any other. The King's version had a very complex, interesting, three-dimensional character that shows step by step what he's going through and why he's going through it.
But it's not scary.
Just because it's not scary doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, look at Nicholson. That man was born to be scary. Even in the scenes where he's trying to be normal, he's still scary, but
That's
in
the
this
point.
version, you actually feel sorry for the character.
No,
You see
no.
the natural progression of his tragic story.
No.
Hey, that man played a very emotional, very complex, very dramatic, you're right, just another Nicholson performance.
He's
So-
just reaching to be fair.
Wow. King actually did something better than Kubrick? I mean, the rest of the series is boring, cliched, not the least bit frightening, but at the very least, he did explain his main character much better than the Kubrick film did.
No.
And Steve Weber did a good job bringing that emotion of a normal guy being tormented.
You still
to
have
screen.
that in the
Despite
original.
all its other faults, that part was actually pretty well done. Even if it was just one element, King did manage to do something better than Kubrick, one of my heroes.
Critic, are you okay?
No, it's cool. I just need to sit down and think things over for a little bit.
What's wrong with him?
I don't know. I guess the idea of Stephen King doing something better than Stanley Kubrick was too much for him to take. Huh? Well, it's been a long day. Let's see what else we can find that has pumpkin in it.
Oh, well, that's perfect because I found this website called pumpkinporn.com.
Ooh.
Everything pumpkin related.
There probably is a pumpkin porn website.
Yes, pumpkin onion rings,
Pumpkin tortilla.
pumpkin meatloaf,
Pumpkin 2% milk.
pumpkin condoms.
Pumpkin shredded.
That's weird.
doesn't make any sense. At least it's scary.
There's always a stinger at the end. Yep, teats.
What do you want me to think?
Anything as long as it's hard.
Oh, jeez.
So, that was the 2013 Nostalgia Critic review of the Shining miniseries. What'd you think of it?
Well, are you asking me about the review itself, or are you asking me about the miniseries? Because I think those are two different answers.
First, the review.
I think the review is well done. I think he kind of identified all of the issues with the original film. Really, what stands out, I think, the most with the review is just the seamlessness of the production, you know, and how he was able to weave in all of those homages to the original Kubrick film with The Shining. I think that was probably my favorite part with the review. And he also tried to be fair at the end, even though I disagreed with his conclusion about Jack and the character evolution in the miniseries, but at least he tried to be fair and balanced there. But I think the review was really good. I especially liked, again, how he made it flow. You really don't notice that it was about half an hour review almost, and it's just what goes by like that.
42 minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think he worked in the sketches pretty well, and it takes you a minute to realize, yeah, he's paying tribute to the original film, and I feel like Malcolm and Rachel did very good jobs in their performances. Rachel did a good impression of Shelley Duvall's terrified Wendy.
Absolutely. I mean, right down to the mannerisms, right down to the facial expressions. I thought all of the shout-outs to the original were spot on here. The bar scene, I mean, that takes work. You know, I'm sure that took many takes in the original review, but just to get it just right, and I feel like they got it just right.
And especially because Doug's playing two characters in the same frame.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most impressive effects I've seen him do. And also, Rachel, apparently, when they were filming the scene where Doug's doing impression of Jack and she has the bat, apparently Rachel was actually a little scared of Doug when they filmed that.
It was a little aggressive there. Now, if it was a croquet mallet, I would be really afraid at that point.
And the joke about the black man always dies first. Good satire. And there's a funny behind-the-scenes story of when they put Malcolm in the whiteface in the park. They said some random jogger walked by, and Malcolm was like, "I just wanted to go into your library."
Oh, yeah, it was probably a little sketchy there.
Yeah, I mean, just saying, probably wouldn't have gone over so well if they did it the other way.
Probably not. Not at all.
But you never know. Tropic Thunder.
The one part I wished he had done a little bit earlier was in telling the board backwards there, the D-Rob.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't get it until later, and maybe that's just me not thinking of it, but trying to spell it out backwards. But, I mean, that was, again, well done. I just wish that he had revealed, like, that's where he was going before.
Yeah. And, at the end, when he's trying to be fair, yeah, I mean, Doug tries to be fair. He tries to find a place in the middle when doing comparisons with some stuff. When there's always the touchy subject of which is better. Although, honestly, I think everybody agrees the Kubrick film is superior.
It's not even close. I mean, night and day here. But I disagree with that it was just another Jack Nicholson type of movie. I think there was enough range in Jack Nicholson's characters. I mean, Cuckoo's Nest and Joker, I mean,
really?
There were a lot of different roles he played, and this one, I did see in the original, you know, the move to losing his sanity. It did come through in the original.
And also, a common fan theory or belief with the Kubrick film is that the Jack from Kubrick's Shining, because in the book, he's supposed to be a good guy who loses his mind and just decency.
Yeah.
But maybe he'll see the Kubrick film, and I'm one who kind of agrees with this. He's already not that decent of a person when the film begins, and it's only when going to the hotel that he lets go of his last bit of hold on his humanity.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. One thing that can't be disputed, and I think Doug nailed it, is just the terribleness of the child actor here. He seriously detracted from the entire miniseries. Did they not have anybody else audition for the part? Were they only going for some kid that looked remotely similar to the original? And then if that was the case, if you're trying to distance yourself from the original so much, why this kid? Because there's nothing in this kid. I mean, you know, when I was a kid that age, it's probably a great accomplishment that you're in a miniseries, but he brought nothing. He brought negative to this movie.
The way he delivers his lines, like when the hose jumps, he's like, "Stupid hose," and then it jumps and he runs. So it's not just his acting, it's just the writing for him is awful. And also, what is with the fact that he never closes his mouth?
Yeah. If he was a great actor and that was the case, then have at. But I don't know. It just took the entire point is The Shining. The Shining is it's the title, right?
Yeah.
And the shine was it's part of his metaverse, you know, and that this kid possessed this shine, and he completely robs this miniseries, completely robs any redeeming or power quality in that character. It's an aside note to some of the other scary scenes, right? So
Speaking of which, the miniseries looks pretty fucking boring.
Yes, and I think they were trying to. Maybe they got paid by the minute. I don't know how else to explain why they would drag it out so much.
Stephen King wanted to remake The Shining the way he wanted it to be, and he wanted to be completely loyal to the book. One of the biggest things he hated about the Kubrick film was that it kind of skimmed over. He felt, although I think they do show enough of it in the Kubrick film, he didn't like how it skimmed over Jack's alcoholism struggle. And I get it, King.
I'm going to have a Doug Walker moment here and explode, because if that was King's motivation, in The Dark Tower recently, he completely eliminated two of the most important characters in 6 of the 7 books. And they weren't even written in the film. How can you be upset about a non-true adaptation of the book? And true, King has an editing problem. There's a lot of detail I could see. Maybe the miniseries gets out of control because of the detail in the books. But he can't have green-lighted Dark Tower, removing 2 of the main characters in the entire 7-book series, and overlooking or downplaying the alcoholism in The Shining, right? Ugh.
Apparently, I haven't seen it, but I heard someone describe this about The Dark Tower. Apparently, it's not supposed to be an adaptation of the books. It's supposed to be taking place after the books.
But telling the same story as the books after... I don't know.
Yeah.
I think somebody's just trying to defend some hypocrisy.
Don't know if that helps you in any way. But yeah, King is a weird thing. I get it. He's a recovering addict.
Yeah.
But sometimes you think not everything has to tie into alcoholism. Like he said once that the book Misery is an allegory for letting go of your addiction. Like that Annie Wilkes is like the addiction that Paul the author has to let go of, which...
That's a weird connection, but I mean that movie was not a disaster. I mean, you can do it, but at the same time, I think the alcoholism came through a bit in the original movie. I mean, it was there. It's not hammering you over the head with a croquet mallet, but it's there.
That's another thing. The making it a croquet mallet is just silly, and
yes.
I asked someone who has played croquet. There is no way that that guy could have slammed the wife, banged the walls, destroyed stuff without it breaking.
Yeah, you could do damage, probably, with a well-constructed mallet, but
yeah, like
I don't see
two, three good hits, and then it breaks.
What was the motivation, even, in changing it to that, from an axe? There's no copyright on an axe, right? You made it less scary, from the king of horror. And I think Doug nailed it when he had the toy mallet up against the door. That's the equivalent of what happened here in this adaptation.
Also, Rebecca De Mornay as Wendy. Stephen King, and I don't agree with this at all, he hated Shelley Duvall's performance. He called her, Kubrick's version of the character, one of the most misogynistic characters in horror films. All because she cries a lot throughout. But
didn't fix it.
I don't agree. I mean,
didn't fix it here.
This Wendy, from what we see here, this does not feel like a strong female character, unless of course his idea of strong is just having her whine constantly.
Yeah, and in a nightgown constantly. I mean, it's not like it's any less misogynistic. I mean, she did have in the original, a little too much Lois Lane to her, right? You know.
But she did end up kicking Jack Nicholson's ass in the original.
Yes. And this one, I mean, I just don't see it.
And
Stephen King really needs to take his hands off the keys when it comes to, hands off the wheel when it comes to film adaptations. Yeah. Let somebody else do it. Pay homage to your work. You know, I don't know.
And last two things I want to mention about the miniseries, Melvin Van Peebles as Dick Halloran, who, like in the book, lives in this version. Mm-hmm. He's an interesting choice. I don't think you could blame any badness on him, more probably on the writing. Mm-hmm. Like, Melvin Van Peebles, he's well known for directing what is probably the original blaxploitation film. Came out around the same time as Shaft, Sweetback's badass song. It's
I've never seen it, but I'll take your word for it.
It's a real stick it to the man type of movie. Mm-hmm. And Doug makes a lot of jokes, or he talked about how he avoided making jokes about a little boy talking to a big black dick. And that joke takes on a funny, also an extra funnier meaning, I guess, because Melvin Van Peebles is someone who I'm not sure you would want to leave around little kids.
Oh.
Let me just say, he's nothing too bad, but debatable. But when he made Sweetback's badass song, there's a scene where his character Sweetback, as a young kid, has sex with a grown woman. And probably because no parent would let their kid do such a graphic scene, he made his own son, Mario Van Peebles, do the scene.
Oh, well, that would be debatable.
Yeah. So, yeah, questionable.
But at the same time, I don't think the way he delivered his lines, I thought he was serviceable in this adaptation. So the flaws do not lay at his feet here.
Yeah, and I do agree, Doug. I thought it was funny when he put in the sound effect with a bong. I mean, hey, at least he lived in this version.
Yeah, everything was just so convenient.
And lastly, how does Steven Weber come off to you?
From the very opening scene, I thought this is what is replacing Jack Nicholson. I mean, you take a classic movie character, all-time classic movie character, and replace him with, again, a B-level actor at best. I mean, I loved him in Wings, but I mean, I don't think he's made anything worthy ever since. And it's just, I don't see it. There's not the depth of acting here, and I think you need somebody, if you're going to play such a deep character that devolves into insanity, you need somebody with more chops. And from the very beginning, with the slurred flashback scene.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the skill to do it. He's just not in his wheelhouse.
The kid actor is awful, but to be fair, almost everybody has a weird way of delivering their lines.
Yeah.
And the most positive thing I'll say about Steven Weber is when he gets beat up or he looks like he hasn't slept in weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they made him look well as far as good on the crazy level.
Yeah.
Like, I like the image of him looking just zoned out and strung out. But, yeah.
But it goes in the category of movies that did not need to be remade, like Dirty Dancing. Classic movies that did not need to be remade. This one did not need this treatment. And in every scene, you're like Doug did, you're hearkening back to the original and just yearning and wishing for the original. Like all of his portrayal, even in the review, was of the original, because like he said, there was so little to work with here. And that shouldn't be what you think of when there's a new treatment of a source material, is always going back to the original. You know, I just don't see the redeeming factors of the miniseries.
The hedges coming to life.
Oh, for crying out loud. Yeah.
I can't tell if it's worse than the Langoliers. I think it's kind of on the same level.
There, again, no suspense whatsoever. Even if they hadn't moved creative camera angles and spooky sounds, you can produce a pretty chilling effect. You know, but this, having them CGI come to life with no suspense to them at all, it has no point.
It kind of reminds me of the song, "The movie never ends, it goes on and on and on."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get an hour and a half, it's just people talking and just like going on a tour of the hotel.
Yeah.
Maybe in the book it was interesting, but as Doug put it, that's the problem when an author tries to write their own scripts.
Mm-hmm.
They forget how the medium works.
Take your hands off the wheel, Stephen King. Love you. You've contributed so much, but not when it comes to hands-on film adaptations.
Although, to be fair, even if they're not well made, they don't have the best outcome, sometimes they can still be entertaining, a la Maximum Overdrive.
Mm.
So overall, enjoyable review.
Review was good, miniseries not good, but overall worth watching.
That seems like the consensus. This is one of my favorite reviews, and if you're a King fan, if you're a Shining fan, this will bring you a lot of enjoyment or rage, depends.
A little bit of both.